Hi, I'm Chris from Airwindows, and this will conclude my explorations of Dither. I have something very special for you today. I hope it's worth the wait. It's a little thing that I call NaturalizeDither, and it reacts and behaves completely differently from any other Dither that I've got, and if I'm not mistaken, from any other Dither that exists anywhere ever. Acts kind of like this. Here, we'll give you a little volume. Here's TPDF. This is Naturalize. Listen to the hi-hat. Listen to the reverb tail. Hear that reverb? Hear the warmth on synthesizers? Let's just go back to TPDF and see what we're missing. TPDF. Let's go back to Naturalize. But wait, there's more. That's still fairly loud, so let's make it much quieter. It's supposed to sound like this. Here's TPDF. Here's Naturalize. Listen to the reverb tails. Notice how you can hear into it? You start listening to the reverb tails and you forget there's noise there. There's a reason for that. Naturalize doesn't sound like there's noise there because there is no noise there. There's no randomness. Everything is completely procedural, from beginning to end. It's using a calculation to come up with the values that it arrives at. And this calculation gives us these reverb tails, it gives us these sounds, even at a level that's probably about 4 bits. Like, let's listen to this breakdown. Now let's listen to it with TPDF. A little flat. Back to Naturalize. And that's at like 2 bits. Also notice something that just happened? Naturalize just shut up. That's a clue as to what's happening. I'm going to go and show you Naturalize's secret. Here we are with it going about, doing its thing. A little bit like truncation, Except for that if we were doing truncation, it would be this. Now that doesn't sound reverby at all. That sounds just horrible. But when you make naturalize do exactly the same thing, it does this. It sounds kind of like noise, but you can sort of tell it's not quite noise. And yes, it does fluctuate. It does alter based on what's going on. This is what TPDF goes to great efforts to not have the noise quotient of itself fluctuate. However, naturalize can be excused on that, I hope, because it has no noise. Here's the secret. And I'll set it at a quiet volume that still feels like it has space in it. Naturalize is based on a concept called Benford realness calculations. Works kind of like this. If you have a series of numbers that is some kind of data from the natural world, and you've recorded these numbers, and you're looking at the final digit in the sequence, there's a statistical basis that follows. You've got it so that the initial numbers are more frequent, and then they'll back off a little bit in a very predictable pattern. And the bigger the data that you have to work with, the more consistent this pattern is going to be. To the point where your nines, the things that end with 9, are less frequent than any of the other ones. And there's a whole statistical calculation that you can do through measuring this, and that is what naturalize does. Every sample, all it's going to do is truncate up or truncate down, run the statistical calculations on both of those choices, and decide for itself which of those things is more natural than the other, which is less statistically natural and which is more statistically natural. And as you can hear, it sounds like noise, because this is happening at least 44,000 times a second. There's no noise generator there. There's no random. This is just the statistical output. Here, I'll boost it up a tiny bit. The funny result of this is that although it is essentially truncation distortion, you compare it to, say, real truncation distortion is horrible. Some grindy, awful digital sounding stuff with no space to it. But when you do the naturalized quality, it sounds like there's noise because you can't get around having some grind in there. The truncation will cause it to happen. But reverb tails, space, natural behavior, we can kind of feel that hi-hat in there. And it still feels like a natural hi-hat a tiny bit, even though this is probably 2-bit audio. It's completely nuts what this does. Benford realness calculations, man. That's all this is. So as a result, when you got this kind of stuff going on, especially if you don't pay attention to it too closely, or if you focus in on things like the reverb sound, it's really easy to tune out the noise that inevitably is there. Whereas if we switch over to what is theoretically correct, TPDF-dither, everything's a little flatter, everything's a little smaller, and we're never going to tune out that noise. that noise is very intrusive. It's intense. It overwhelms the hats, it overwhelms everything else. When we go back to the naturalize, if you focus in really hard on what seems like noise, you start picking out information in it. But then if you start listening to musical qualities, musical sounds, the noise is kind of a fugitive thing that gets out of the way. So what I'm going to do to finish off my demonstration of naturalize is take it away from this incredibly quiet 0.01 gain off of what was already 8-bit audio. And let's listen to some straight up 8-bit audio. First with a little bit of TPDF. Then with naturalize. I'll go from, say, here to a little ways past that breakdown. And here's what you got with the TPDF. Oh, and here's what it's supposed to sound like. Naturalize, which isn't going to make a sound until we need it. It will gate itself. There's no randomness there, there's no dither there, so it can inevitably gate itself. And again, this is what it's supposed to sound like. Compare the hats. I'm going to emphasize that is switching between 24-bit audio, which is not changed all that wildly much by the bit shift because it's a 32-bit floating point bus. Switching between 24-bit audio that's been shifted up and down again, and 8-bit audio. So listen to those hats. Eight-bit audio, folks. I think naturalize is the best dither I've got, despite the fact that it's not a dither and has no randomness. And I think you're probably going to like it too. There are other choices. I've made other choices. But I don't know, I tend to just gravitate towards naturalize anymore. It's not because it gates to silence, although that is a thing. But the quality of starting to listen to the content, to the information, and easily being able to trace it into the sound to where you just stop hearing the dither noise. That is just unique. I've not heard that with any of my other experiments. And it's because of the Benford realness thing. It's like this that I was showing you about. When you calculate things out so that at any given instant, the direction of truncation is always to the one that will seem more statistically real, what you get is your audio sounds real. It just sounds real. I'm a huge fan of this output. I'm a huge fan of this result. And yeah, I hope you like it. NaturalizeDither is 24-bit, meaning that you're probably not going to hear any little fluctuations that it causes anyhow. And I think it's the best possible thing that you can have both to monitor through, to put on your DAW so that you can go to your, I mean, heck, if you do any gain changing or things like that, it would be a good idea to put that on just pleasure listening systems. This should be in high-end audio stuff. Anybody that's doing anything involving generating high bit depths and then reducing them from, say, 32-bit floating point to 24-bit should be using this. They can use TPDF if they would like technical correctness and a completely unfluctuating noise floor. But as far as sounding like real sounds, this is the one. And it's free. Please support my Patreon.